This is Michael from Billings, Montana, and you're listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars.
Welcome to another episode of Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars, the podcast that blends the modern scooter lifestyle with a twist of the paranormal over a cool cocktail.
Are you having one right now?
I'm trying.
We're all about bar reviews, scooter talk, ghost stories, and that's what this is. A simple podcast follows a group of modern Vespa riders in search of classic pubs, dive bars, and haunted taverns. This isn't smart or safe, is it, Lonnie?
No, but it is simple. Where are we?
We never encourage drinking and scooting and keep our intake to just one drink per hour, 24 hours a day.
It's a new addendum, isn't it?
It really is. Welcome to episode 28. Okay, Lonnie's laughing because he had surgery, and they gave him special pain pills, so he's in a very good mood. How's your mood, Lonnie?
Lonnie, pull your pants up.
My mood is fine, and I did get some pain pills to go with my alcohol intake, but I don't recommend that all the time either, but I have a job to do.
Right. I mean, you didn't ride your scooter, so that's good. You just drove a 10-ton truck.
It'll be fine.
So welcome to episode 28, and it's really 29 because of our two bonus episodes of Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars. This is about our 4-day ride to eastern Washington, the Idaho Panhandle, and Montana, and it's part of our ongoing annual trip we call
PubScoot.
A PubScoot. That's right. Our goal is 40 bars in 4 days, and we're calling this episode The Inland Empire Rides Back. Okay, before we get into the bars, the rides, and the stories, we need to get caught up. I mentioned a while back, I sold my house in August, which included a custom studio in my garage, the garage, actually, you have T-shirts that even say it, where we recorded these little ditties, and it had the squeezer, it had the bar, it had it all. I downsized.
It was a paradise.
It also doubled as our football watching garage. And
right, party garage, we had neighborhood parties in there, and now somebody else has it.
Yeah, poof, it's all gone.
So where are you now?
So now I'm not quite sure. I'm in Edgewood.
Ah.
And did you know that Edgewood is the home of one of the oldest spiritual churches in the country? You know what spiritualism is?
I've read about it somewhere.
It's from the
Atheists don't like that.
Early 1900s, when they were doing like the Fox Sisters and that sort of thing, Houdini, all those people, they were into Ouija boards and seances and mediumship and all that kind of thing. Anyway, there's an ongoing church, right? I can walk to it.
How'd you come across this?
I was walking the dog, and I've been by it a million times in my life.
Is that on your yo-yo? Were you walking the dog on one of your yo-yo moves?
No, and I finally thought I read the sign, this old sign that says since 1903, and it said Church of Spiritualism, and I went, oh my God! So I went online, checked it out. I'm going to start going.
And you, as a Dudeist priest, are interested in that kind of thing, probably.
Absolutely, I am ordained. We've talked about that in the past.
You know what I think? I think he was walking his dog, and Toto took off running, and he's like, Toto, come back, come back. And Toto led him to the spiritualist camp.
His name is Otto.
Like I said, I'm on drugs.
And we turned the corner, and he took a big doopy right around there.
Nice.
And I picked it up.
And you prayed over it.
Is that what smells? It's still in your pocket.
Damn it. So anyway, we're all set up now in the garage. I posted that on Instagram. I don't know if you saw that,
Lonnie.
Saw
it.
I tagged you. I don't know if you liked it.
I didn't.
But we've got a new table. It's on wheels. It's stainless steel. My refrigerator made it. Right?
Yep.
So we have drinks.
And your studio walls.
And then the moving blankets are hanging. That was my project last night. So it was really cool. Sorry about being so slow getting this together, but moving from a big house of 20 years.
An estate, really.
Into a townhouse, a 2,000 square foot townhouse has really made the way I organize things differently. It's kind of wild. Not sure I'm going to make it.
Well, we better get this podcast in then.
But enough about me. How about you guys? What's been going on? Lonnie, why the sunglasses? What's happening?
Well, like we said, I'm on drugs right now because 2 days ago I had eye surgery, and I had one of my eyes repaired. I'm doing a monovision experiment. Fix my dominant eye, and hopefully my other eye will adjust, and I will no longer have to wear glasses, which is the goal because I hate them sons of bitches. So far so good. I mean, I'm still on some pretty good drugs and got a drink in my hand, but
Or you'll be in a permanent eye patch.
If
it doesn't work out.
The alternative probably would have been, since I just turned 60 as well, just to buy a big pair of those square glasses that go over your glasses.
They give them to you. They give them to you at the eye doctor after they put atropine in your eyes.
No, but actually it's going fine, and I think in a couple days I'll be good as new.
You also took a trip.
I did. My wife and I took a trip down to Mexico, partly because we're in the middle of a remodel of our house and had to get out of town, and spent a week down there and doing nothing. And
so it was just you and your wife, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How is that?
Well,
you're forced to talk.
It was fine.
Yeah.
Thanks for asking.
I'm terrified to go on a trip with just my wife. Like, she could ask me questions I just couldn't answer.
It was very relaxing. We had 85 degrees every day and nice time on the beach, and mission accomplished.
Well, welcome back,
Thank
and
you.
glad your surgery left you still sighted.
Me too.
Right. How about you, Coach? What's happening?
I've got chaos going on in my life. I got a sink leak.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to be okay?
Well, no. Unlike my father, who was a plumber, I don't have any pants that have the ass crack level. So I have no plumbing ability. That didn't come to me. And now it's going out the front and leaking out the ass end. Kind of like you, I suppose. So I got to go home and try and figure that out at some point.
Well, you know what? 3 or 4 drinks ought to help that.
What problem?
We should probably have had 3 or 4 drinks before we started this because, oh, wait, Lonnie, you did. So
otherwise, everything's good, though.
Good. And you already heard about what's going on with me. I moved. I sold my house. I moved. I've been working on some projects. I got a new car. Got a new electric car. That's going to be kind of cool. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But as an aside, I've really struggled to make our Twitter account work. I mean, I've talked about it in the past. We do okay on Instagram. We do pretty good on Facebook. Got lots of people. But I want to do a quick...
Twitter's where you want to go?
Well, I'm just saying Twitter is... it's just been a weak format for chasing ghosts on scooters and bars, and I want to do a little shout out to Vespa and Lambretta Pics who share some really great photo and contents of some old scoots and lifestyle shots, and they inspire me to retweet their photos with my own captions that are on there. And recently, another shout out to the Trojan Scooter Club over in England somewhere in the UK.
Trojans.
And they shared a few and liked a few. So, I mean, they actually looked at them. So my fledgling Twitter account is still fledgling, but it got a few likes on some of our photos. So thanks, guys. And check those blokes out.
Oh. Isn't that a Australian?
I don't know.
I think the
Close
blokes are in
enough.
Australia.
Also, a quick ask to follow us on Facebook at Chasing Ghost Pod, where we post all kinds of weird and wonderful stuff about the paranormal, great scooter shots, bar visits, and little porno videos. That's not true.
Wink, wink.
Okay.
That midget porn?
And don't say that word. And there's a local bar that uses it.
Well, I don't think it's not little people anymore, is it?
I think it is.
Oh.
And we're on Instagram, and as I said before, we're on Pinterest. We're really not. But some cool shit. And we're also the largest geographical scooter podcast in the whole world.
So we were number one, and now we're the biggest?
Well, that features ghosts and bars. Yes. We continue to have listeners in New Zealand and Australia, thanks, guys, and in the UK. But Portugal's popped up. France has popped up.
France?
Yeah.
What do you see in France?
You can see your underpants. Hey, whose phone is making that noise? Can you move your phones away from, move them away?
It's not my phone.
Where's your phone?
Don't ask, don't tell.
Move your phone away, please. You're making noise, static noises. And then Germany, Denmark, and recently Poland. So hello to our Polish listeners. So anyway, fun to see that people are into scooters, ghosts, and bars everywhere in the world.
Is that Poland listener? Is that the one that Nazis didn't get to?
Well, you're just out to get
left one or two behind today.
You're out to get everybody today.
This is Matt with Vespa Portland and Twist and Play Scooter Club in Portland, Oregon, and you're listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters and Bars.
Now, that was from our friend Matt at Vespa Portland and Twist and Play Scooter Club, also down in Portland. You know, Twist and Play is is the vibe of the Portland scooter scene.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, they've been around a long time.
Have we heard of them before?
They do, yeah. I have. They do the spring scoot. They do all kinds of fun stuff.
More importantly, have they heard of us?
They invited us to a happy hour while we were down there on our ride, and you told them no. Oh. We all wanted to go, but you, Lottie, told them no.
You know what? The Lizard doesn't just jump for anybody. I tell you that much right now.
So I think they have the same mission as we do almost, scooters and bars, but I don't think a lot of ghost stories. Unless they have some.
Well, that's what makes us the #1 podcast.
That's right. But if some of the guys at Twist and Play have a ghost story, I'd sure love to have them share it by sending me a message on Facebook or our website. You can record it.
That would be nice.
And send it to us, and we'll put it on the podcast. The other thing is that there's a rumor that they do a haunted strip club scoot.
Oh?
Yeah. So...
No way.
Yeah, I don't know if the people are haunted or the clubs are haunted, but we need to get some more info on that. So if we could, that would be really cool. I even heard.
What's it titled?
I don't
Pussycat
know.
Tour.
I don't know, but Twist and Play. We need some info. We need some stories.
Yeah, I think we need to find a weekend and do some research ourselves.
Why don't we just head down there? Yeah. Why don't we throw them on a trailer in case it gets a little cold out? But let's head down.
It could. Yeah, we could get caught in the frost in the early morning.
Well, they have ice storms in Portland. I mean, they don't do snow. They do frozen streets and frozen trees. They do ice, baby.
Hey, what other news do we have?
We've got scooter news.
Oh, that's spooky news?
We've got that too. But let's go to scooter news.
Oh, okay.
So I mentioned I got a new electric car.
Yep.
Right? And so this subject is timely. And it was supplied by our friend Andrew at Vespa Portland. So it's appropriate. The new scooter is coming to America. That's N-U-I.
Scooter or movie?
The scooter. Did I say movie?
That'd be
No,
N-I-U. You're dyslexic.
No, it's N-I-U. What did I say?
And I'm the one that had eye surgery. You're the one that needs it. You said
all right.
NYU.
It's spelled N-I-U. It's pronounced new. And it's in Chinese, it means calf or baby cow.
Really?
It does. According to Andrew, they've been dominating on the continent, the European continent, and China, and they're making their way to the USA. In fact, a company called Revel has brought about 1,000 of them to New York, Buffalo, and Queens as a sharing rental fleet project.
So they're taking off?
It seems to be.
I got to think the Donald's going to put a tariff on that, though.
Well, they got them in already, so I think we got ahead of it.
Yeah, the next batch is screwed.
How's that doing for your nuts and bolts? Bitch.
Most of mine come from Taiwan, so we're okay.
Okay, good.
For now.
Yeah.
For an electric, though, it looks pretty good. Several models seem to be offered from a 50cc equivalent to 125cc, and I'm told that genuine scooters will be the importer.
Oh, they know the business.
They seem to. According to their website, I actually went there. They were founded in 2014 in China and say they're the leader in smart urban mobility solutions.
Yeah, but you know how people tend to bullshit about we're the biggest, fastest, best, whatever. I mean, that doesn't mean shit to me.
Okay, let's keep going. They say...
Wait, Lonnie, there's more.
They say market, technology, style, and freedom. And their goal is to provide global customers more convenient and more environmentally friendly smart urban mobility vehicles to redefine riding and make life better.
Does this mean that they break down and you'll be walking home?
No, I had to translate the Chinese, and that's what it came to. I had to use Google Translator. And did you notice how uncomfortable that sentence was? So sorry, Google, you still need to work on it. But I especially like the part that says make life better.
Yeah, we'll see about that.
They have 3 series, the N, the M, and the U, New Mexico University.
Yes.
According to electric.co, which is a media outsource, they'll be importing 4 models by the end of the year, and the prices on pre-order are around $4,500. though it's preliminary and probably a little lower than what the reality is going to be. Looking at their site, niu.com, and they are traded now on the NASDAQ.
Oh, they're public.
Wow.
Yep, they have a lot of variations that range with ranges up to 170 kilometers with the dual battery version, though they're advertising at 100 kilometers as range. The motors are made by Bosch, German, and batteries by Panasonic, Japanese. So they're truly a hybrid.
Global company.
Right. The NGT looks pretty cool, pretty well built and attractive, and I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of the new e-scooters soon.
Well played.
Wow.
Look at you.
What do you think Andrew told us about these?
Do you think he's in the game?
He's a genuine dealer. Is there something going on?
Oh.
I don't know. So there you go. That's Scooter News.
Good news. That's
All
good
right.
news.
This is Cliff at Radio Brewing in historic uptown Kellogg, Idaho. You're listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters and Bars.
Spooky news. When are we getting to spooky news?
We don't need to. You just scared me.
Oh. Are we there yet?
We're here with spooky news. Okay, I talked about my electric car in the first one.
Yeah.
You know, and I've talked about selling my house. And I thought about when we were in New Orleans last year. Well, my family trip in New Orleans, and I saw real estate signs that said "not haunted" or "haunted" on houses that were for sale. And the question is, I just sold my house, and my question was, do you legally have to disclose if your house is haunted?
You know what? That's a good question.
I found out that rules vary state by state.
You did find info on
I
this?
found this out, yeah. But according to the Arizona Department of Real Estate, and I use that because so many old people live there,
Right.
sellers are obligated by Arizona common law to disclose all known material facts about a property to be a buyer or to the buyer. So according to the law, when it comes to real estate sales and leases, a seller does not have to disclose if the property is the site of a natural death, suicide or homicide, or any other crime classified as a felony. So I think it'd be kind of cut and dried, right? However, a haunting could be seen as a material fact. Such was the case in a famous New York court case commonly referred to as the Ghostbuster ruling. Why are you shaking your head, Murray?
I think that's bullshit. You can't. How are you going to prove it?
You've gotten, since you can see the world again, you've gotten real skeptical.
Well, since he turned 60, he's a hater. Okay, Oscar. Well, the case was Stambosky versus Ackley in 1990. Jeffrey Stambosky went to the courts to get out of a contract he had made on a house that he later found out was haunted.
Is he our Polish contact?
No. The house was a Victorian in Nyack, New York, just across the Hudson River from Sleepy Hollow.
Nyack.
There's some synchronicity for you.
Yeah.
He was ruled against on the first time, but then appealed, and he won.
So it wasn't a real victory. It was a pseudo-victory.
Hey, if you end up the winner in the end, that's all. It's like overtime. If you win in overtime, is that sort of a victory, Mark?
No, but when you lose in regulation, there is no overtime. I guess in the court system and Ghost, you can just keep going back and forth.
Yeah. What is with both of you being so argumentative and contrary today?
I thought we were out of this. It's been so long since you put a podcast
I'm
up.
just fine. Don't you worry about me.
Yeah, you're fine, all right. So whether or not the house was haunted was irrelevant. That the seller believed, and this is where they got her, the seller believed the house was haunted and had told others about her belief was relevant. The moral of the story is that if you think your house is haunted, that could be interpreted as a material fact, so you better let potential buyers know. So to be clear, my house that I sold, unfortunately, was not haunted.
Did you clarify that?
I did have that conversation because when they looked at the house, and it was such kind of a unique house, they asked that we come back and meet them and do a walkthrough with them. They asked about the podcast studio, and I said, well, it's, you kind of sheepishly say, well, it's, scooters, ghosts, and bars. And we take Vespa scooters and we ride to haunted bars and collect ghost stories and that sort of thing. And they said, oh, is the house haunted? And I said,
Uh-oh.
No, and it's not. I wished it was haunted. It's not. So
Are you sure?
It's haunted.
You talked about that hill being haunted for years.
The hill is haunted, but
And
the
it's
house
on the
is
hill.
not.
Therefore, wouldn't that be by proxy
No.
haunted?
The house is not haunted. The hill's haunted. The hill is, but the house isn't. Okay, much of the info I gathered here was from the Huffington Post with a byline by Alejandro Rojas. So there you go.
Yeah, he's a good
I don't
writer.
Want to take information and not give credit to where
You're
credit's
so
due.
ethical.
So there you go. Spooky news? Nope.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, spooky news.
It just wasn't that frightening.
But I feel more learned now.
Okay. So a little addendum to the spooky news. If you followed our podcast, you know that Danny is a spirit that I ran across at the Robin Hood Inn on the Olympic Peninsula, and he followed me home and tormented me for several months.
Followed you to your haunted home?
No, it's not a haunted home. Danny was just there for a little while. He's gone now. The Robin Hood Inn is an old resort that was part of the set of the film of the same name, Robin Hood, starring Errol Flynn back in the 1930s. In fact, Beth and I stayed in the cabin that Errol Flynn stayed in and is known to be haunted. So anyway, check out
The next morning, you looked pretty haunted.
Yes. Check out Season 2, Episode 8, Listen Before You Ride, and Season 3, Episode 3, Danny's Back, to get an idea of what we're talking about. But late this summer, we booked rooms at the resort and scooted there with our wives, which is a pretty rare event, and did another Danny ghost hunt after hours in the bar with a group of people, including the bartender, the musician playing there, and
One of the daughters.
the girls, the two friends that we had interviewed before.
How'd that go anyway?
Well, we spent 2 hours in there. I don't know if you're aware of that. We got all kinds of EMF action.
Well, we
if you
spent 2 hours
remember.
after it closed.
Correct.
Several
Yeah.
hours before it closed.
Yes.
Which was
and
a
all
mistake.
day, all over the place. But we did get some EMF action and lights responding to our questions, so it was pretty exciting. I recorded the whole session, and I'm still working through it for EVPs. I could barely listen to it because we'd been drinking all day. And
It's not going to make it?
Mark, do you remember what an EVP is?
No, it's an environmental placement.
It's electronic voice phenomena.
That's
right.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll let you know what we find, but we want to let you know that we
So are
did
we
that.
getting any audio footage from that?
There's audio, but
Are you gonna play-
I hear
is it on this podcast?
No, I'm not going to play it until the next one.
Oh.
But I did hear some whispering, and I just can't tell if it's people whispering at the table that we're at or someone saying something on the tape. Look forward to
Okay, so
Little
that's what's
Robin
coming
Hood
down the
Village.
pike?
Yep, coming down the pike. So there you go with spooky news and forward-looking podcast notes.
This is Mandy from Billings, Montana. You're listening to Chasing Ghosts
On scooters.
in bars from Peace Out.
All right.
I choked on the last kiss that was in my face.
Let's unpack the big ride from this summer.
We're finally getting to it?
Yeah. It's called Dark Treasures of the Inland Empire, or Gems of the Inland Empire, as Pendominono calls it, or the Inland Empire PubScoot, as the Lizard called it.
Lots of different names.
We got stickers, right?
Yeah, we got stickers.
We got two kinds of stickers and a great T-shirt. And I think the Inland Empire referred to railroads, did it not?
It did.
Did you go railroad?
Railroad.
You're like Astro from the...
Anyway, it's a
Space and
great T-shirt.
Sprockets.
I'm wearing it today.
You are? That's
and it has
cool.
a really soft. I like the.
It's a nice
fabric.
fiber.
Yeah.
It's a nice fiber.
Yeah, that's a nice T-shirt for $85. They weren't
Anyway,
really
so
too bad.
thank you, and thanks to Keith for
That
your
reminds me,
sticker,
I think we
too.
still need to settle up on some money, too.
Yes, we do. So to start, let's define the PubScoot. I mean, we talk about our PubScoot. We've done them for years and years and years. We say 40 bars in 4 days, and that's basically all we ever say about them. But they really are and have carried a life of their own. We take a group of us anywhere from really 5 to about 9 guys, typically.
And now it's back down to about 5 again.
It is. We've killed off a few. But I want to read a quote from Victoria Erickson from the website Word Porn.
What?
Yeah. And she says, road trips are the equivalent of wings. Ask me to go on one anywhere. We'll stop in every small town and learn the history and the stories, feel the ground and capture the spirit. Then we'll turn it into our own story that will live inside our history to carry with us always. Because stories are more important than things. And baby, we have stories.
We do have stories.
Well, we have our own stories.
The problem is we're all getting so old we can't remember our stories. I think we need to hire some 28-year-old to ride along with us.
I think Victoria Erickson is 28. So what's a PubScoot to you guys? I mean, What's your definition?
A dream vacation.
No, it's more than just the riding your scooter and going into bars. It's meeting people. It's hanging out with your buddies. It's being on the edge a little bit, but it's one of the highlights of my year for sure.
It's a lot of good times and laughs. That's
and from what I'm told, it's a nice vacation for the group we leave at home.
it's a win-win.
So we only do it once a year. We go on a multi-day ride.
What's become a multi-day?
Right. Well,
you and Bobby Chong started as an overnighter.
Right, but that was 20 years ago.
Look how we've grown.
I mean, we do a lot of rides, but they're mostly an afternoon
But
or
I
maybe
remember
an
when it was a
overnight.
simple ride about just us, and then Ghost came into this whole thing, and a podcast was born, and all of a sudden now gadgetry, electronics, EVPs.
Wow, look at you.
It's a job. It's a burden if you're a grip.
So you have to spend the afternoon having a cocktail.
Tell us how you really feel, Scout.
I'm about ready to quit.
All right, so we loaded our scooters up on a Wednesday at around 11 in the morning in the Tacoma area. And
Headed east.
we had 2 trucks and 2 trailers, and off we went. We picked up Pendominono somewhere down in Algona, if I remember right.
Yep.
And we headed over the pass.
Yes.
It's a 4.5-hour drive to the Spokane Valley, and
We had a pit stop in, not Quincy, where was that?
we stopped in the lake. What's the name
Moses
of that?
Lake.
Moses Lake.
That's right. Yeah.
And we had a little lunch, and then we powered through and got to the Ruby Hotel in downtown Spokane.
And then it began.
It did begin. It began raining.
That's right.
We were out and it was 80 degrees and pouring down rain.
Trying to find parking.
Yeah, and we ended up parking our scooters at the hotel underneath an overhang. We took one spot for all our scooters and only had to pay $5, if you remember.
But we had to pay $80 for the trailer and
Yes.
the trucks in the parking lot.
Truck, yeah. And the next day we'll talk about what we did that night. But the next day we actually moved them up to Craig Pierce's house up near some golf course in the south part of Spokane. We parked, we got settled, we got cleaned up, and we all met together in the Sapphire Ruby Lounge. Remember?
Yeah, it was a nice start.
There was a crazy guy
Except the
sitting
one
with us.
guy, yes.
Yeah. So we had a crazy guy sitting there, and he was driving the bartender nuts, who finally just said no to the guy and wouldn't serve him anything anymore. He disappeared, and then we went for a walkabout.
Because there were bars to find.
There were, and we knew we were going to be challenged on this ride to hit 40 bars in 4 days.
Well, there was a lot of miles between our stops.
Yeah, it's a bigger area than a big urban. So,
But we hit one of the bars twice on.
the baby bars.
Baby
Okay,
bar,
yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
And it's one of our favorites, I think. Super small, about the size of this little podcast blanketed area that we have
Not
right
as small as Slim's in Cabo, but it was small.
Yeah.
now. I think that the baby bar had a really good vibe. I thought it was all black walls with dolls.
A little tricky
Like
to get. There was a
haunted
diner
dolls.
out front, and you had to kind of go
It was
back.
like a speakeasy. You had to
Yes.
find
Yeah.
your way inside to it. Small
And we
little,
found it.
Yes, we did. And I thought it was great that Keith got a beer, and on the beer the imprint was a Bigfoot.
Yes.
Oh, that's right.
And
Yeah.
so it really was. It boded well for our trip. If you remember, one of our podcasts was called Harry Riders. We did a Bigfoot podcast about experience. My sister Gay saw one,
Yep.
and somebody else. Who else? Oh, Dr. Don. So we got that story. So there it was. This bar was a nod toward the occult, but maybe a little more voodoo than ghosty.
Yes.
I would say.
Yeah.
I'd drink to that.
It had a good vibe, though.
Very good vibe, and a little bit of black light, a little
Highly
bit of dark
recommend it, yep.
walls, very, very small. And this was recommended by Davis, my son, my oldest son.
I like his picks.
Can count on Davis.
Yeah, he can really find the stuff. We went there, and then we headed to the Davenport, the classic historical Davenport Hotel in downtown Spokane, which is known to be haunted, including the Safari Room, the Safari Lounge, which we went into and had a drink and said, okay, that's enough of this.
Yeah. That was a little too fancy for
Yeah,
us.
too nice.
Yeah.
Cool
But,
place, but
Too many animals.
from the Safari, we headed over to the Post Street Ale House and had a little bite to eat.
I
And
can't
that's about
remember
it. Well, it was just basically a brew pub, tall stools, very nice. We had a quick bite. Then we headed over to Durkin's Liquor Bar.
I do remember downstairs.
Yeah,
That was a
another
nice
place
stop.
that
Great
we
stop,
took a
yeah.
little. It took a little
Right.
time to find. We walked by
We
it
passed-
twice.
yeah, we passed
Couldn't
it.
even
That's
see
right.
the
It's a
door.
hidden gem.
It's a hidden gem. We went downstairs. We met a great bartender down there, and it's a whiskey bar.
Yeah.
So they had all kinds of
It's a
great
wonderful
whiskey.
nightcap.
Big, the big round ice cube glass in there. We're basically the only people in there. She took really good care of us. So thank you, Durkins. I think we got a little transition from her as well. We'll share that a little bit later. But we do recommend Durkins.
Yes, highly. For Wednesday.
Yeah.
Well, we're not done yet. We went
Back to the baby bar.
We were down at Durkins, and then we walked back up to the baby bar, and we had another go around, and the place was packed.
It was packed.
Elbow room only.
Lonnie, do you remember?
Barely.
All right, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bars out of the way on day, actually 6 if you count our stop
Moses
in
Lake.
Moses Lake.
And that was really, day one was really more of a travel day.
It was a half day.
It was
It
a
was a half day,
It's
yeah.
a bonus day, but you
Yeah.
know when we find out what happened Sunday, you're going to understand
It's a
why.
good thing we put some in the bank.
Yeah. So we all went to bed early.
Of course we did.
We took our melatonin, and we
We were
went
fast asleep.
Read a story and then
and we got up
Tucked
in the morning.
Greg under the table, and away we went.
We got a coupon to go to Ruby's.
coupon.
Yeah, we had a coupon next door. We had some breakfast sandwiches. Forgot to use the coupon.
Oh, that's
Yep,
right.
that's
But we-
But it was a good
I do
breakfast
remember
sandwich.
that.
We did have a nice little breakfast and a Bloody Mary, and
As I recall, we trickled in kind of individually, though.
we
Yeah,
did
didn't meet
because
as a
everybody
group.
there
their
was
own
only 2
shuttle.
bathrooms and there were 5 of us, so it took a little time. But from there, we loaded up our scooters and hooked them back on the trucks, or at least I
Well,
did.
the two
of
drivers
us did, yeah. And we drove up to Craig's place. He'd volunteered to let us park.
That was your
At
contact
his
guy.
place, our contact,
Great
and he invited us in. He was very hospitable,
Yeah.
and
Had a
what
nice little bar himself.
what a little character
Yes.
he is. Hello, Craig. We went down into his basement bar. We sat around as he scrounged all kinds of creative drinks for us
He
to
had
have.
everything
Each of
we
us
wanted,
had
yeah.
something different because he prefers not to drink. So
Anymore.
it just is what it has in there.
Yeah.
I think he
And,
met his quota a long time ago.
well, we all did. We just haven't been smart enough to stop. Craig shared with us a couple of his paranormal experiences, or at least one in particular.
Well, let's listen to it.
Yeah, let's go to Craig's story now in the basement of his bar in Spokane, Washington. All right, so we're with Craig
was-
Pierce in his bar, Craig's bar.
This was like 1978, all right, and I rented a place behind the Saddleback Inn where I was the manager, and it was a restaurant and bar, and I had just taken Sarah out the night before, so it was Sunday, and I had a hangover from hell, and I was laying on the floor with just a mattress because it just moved in, and sorry about the noise there.
Slapping.
I passed out and I woke up in the middle of the night kind of feeling a presence, and I looked on the wall, and on this wall was like a two-dimensional chromoluminescence shit flying all over. And then the first face that appeared was my girlfriend's dad, whose car I'd used to take out my future wife the night before. And then this stereotypical devil face appeared, and they were talking, but there was no noise except for kind of white noise static in the back. And the weirdest thing was this little guy that was on this door here, and his arm came down to his knee, and this arm would go all the way across the wall. I'm going, fuck. Am I having an acid flashback, or what's really happening? So I looked down at my pillow and cleared my head and looked, and it was still there. And I go, well, fuck it. So I put my dog outside, and I just said, fuck it, I ain't leaving. And I woke up in the morning, and everything was okay. My roommate showed up. I go, you won't believe what I saw last night. He goes, a ghost? I go, why did you say that? He goes, there's something wrong with this place. And the place went on where the front door would open and 3 steps, and you go out, and there would be nobody there. And nothing really clicked. And then I told Sarah the story, and she had came back from Pullman, where she was finishing her last semester, and I was working. It's 9 o'clock at night, and I get a call from her going, fucking get over here and get me. There's doors slamming and people running up and down the steps. And I went and got her, and she was just in hysterics. And everybody was there would hear this door open and close, and we found this old military uniform in the garage out back. We brought it inside, and everything kind of turned friendly. You'd see shears now and then, but it was a different feel altogether.
Did you ever do any research on who that uniform belonged to?
No, I
Too
I was
busy
too
with
young.
your future wife?
Well, yeah, I was drinking, But I've been tempted. I've driven by hoping to see somebody outside just to ask them.
Yeah.
You seen a fucking ghost?
That's a great story.
Yeah, it still gives me goosebumps. And
I can see that. And I've been chasing you around as you've been doing puppets on the wall with the shadows for us.
it just went across like this. It was so weird, and it just kept going across, and everything was flying around in the back. There was one other thing, but I don't remember it now.
Yeah.
It's been...
Well, cool. Thanks, Craig.
Yeah.
That was a great story.
Yeah, he's got more too, and he's got some that we can never share.
Well, Craig was really hospitable, good storyteller, and we still owe him for taking care of us that weekend.
Absolutely. So we left, though.
Well, there were bars to get to.
We left after that.
He understands.
And we ended up in Spangle. He gave us directions to go down the hill the back way instead of going back around.
This day was a great ride.
It was one of the
Palouse,
best,
yeah.
one of the best ever. And we ended up at the Spangle Saloon, which...
But it wasn't open.
If you remember, we got off the highway. It was a split 2-lane. We got off in Spangle. We went into town, and it looked like the only place was a roadside restaurant and lounge. And I just had this feeling
there was something more.
There's more to this town.
We kept
you were
going.
that's right. You were out point.
We went over a little hump in the
Took a
road, and
left.
down below there was a main street, and in this old town. And we pull in and found an old tavern,
Old wooden, little overhang,
right?
Country,
Cool as shit.
1870 Western town.
Yeah, and we pull up front, and the damn place is closed.
Demoralized. But alas, only for a moment.
Well, we sat there for a few minutes. I taught Bobby how to do his Instagram. Remember
that's
we
right.
created
He became
Instagram?
hooked.
So we're played with that for about 8 or 9 minutes, and then and we sat there and we're like, when do you think it opens? And all of a sudden, this nice old guy comes across and unlocks the door and says, "Come on in." And we go in and sit at the bar, and he's getting things set up, and in walks pretty little Tiffany.
Well, he had to call his daughter. And
Didn't
said,
she live across the street or
She
something?
She lived in the
did.
neighborhood. And
Yeah.
he
He
called
her and said, "You got customers." and over she came, and she was a charmer. She was great.
And a nice little bar.
And a very nice, clean little bar. And the Spangle reposted some of our stuff. They followed us, which is kind of great. So shout out to the Spangle and Tiffany. She did a little intro for us. I'll put that in, and you can listen to it. And then we left on a 2-lane road. Now, how far apart were the towns in this area of the Palouse?
The rest of our day is 11 miles apart, exactly every stop, which is almost perfect on a scooter.
It's a little long.
But it's uncanny.
At about mile 11, I'm going, whoa. Why is that?
And why is that?
They all are tied to the railroads back in the day when they needed steam to reboot.
Yeah, they were all steam engines, right? And they needed water.
Yeah, so everything was 11 miles. That's as far as they could go.
Yeah.
Right, they were rewatered every 11 miles.
Kind of like we were.
Sort of.
You guys are old steam engines.
No, it's really weird. It takes a full hour to go 11 miles so we can have another drink. So
why are you winking at me right now?
We ended up, our next bar was in Roselia, Washington, at the Brass Rail. But before we got there, we went to the Texaco station next door. And this was a really historical society building that looks exactly like
It did
a
back in the day.
1940s. And they had a guy working there that had been working there since that time.
Yeah.
He had on the full uniform, the hat.
Well, for those that need a visual, if you think back to Leave It to Beaver.
Or Andy at Mayberry.
It's Gus.
Right.
Yeah.
The old fire.
I think his name was
volunteer
Mike.
fire.
It was
Wasn't that
Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all took pictures with him. We put
And
our
Lizard, you
scooters-
bought a shirt or two
I did
from
buy a
him.
shirt.
Ooh.
That was just to support Mike because that's what I do.
So what I did is just gave him money and didn't take the shirt.
I know. You confused the hell out of him.
I know. You keep the shirt. I've seen it. So we went to the Brass Rail. Debbie was our bartender there.
Split a corn dog.
She and her husband
Yep.
were running the place, owned the place. He read the paper at the Sandow Bar over there, and he cooked and she was bartending.
Yep.
And they'd been there, I guess 10, 12 years. They were retired nurses, or he was.
That's right, yeah.
And they had the place up for sale. So we damn near bought it, but no one would volunteer to run it that was with us. So we left there, and then we headed down to. They told us to go down to Grumpy's Tavern in the town of Garfield.
Well, it was only 11 miles away.
Right. Well, but there were two directions to go. We
Right.
could have gone two different directions. So we ended up at Grumpy's. Now picture this: screen door, corner entry, so that the building goes to around the block, but you walk in at the corner, not on the side. One
And
side
this
or
is not
the
a
other.
downtown. This is literally farmhouse or farm
silos,
granary over
silos
here.
over there,
Yeah,
and
it's pretty dead.
Total
Yeah.
farm country.
You could easily drive by it thinking this place has been closed
Right.
for 30 years.
We walk in, and I can't remember the woman behind the bar. She was both the cook and the bartender. It was like a
She did it
combination of tavern and cafe together.
Like a
diner. Yeah.
Right out of
it
the
had,
60s.
And it had two sections of it.
And the wind was blowing a little bit. There might have been a fly running around, flying around. It was
Yeah.
quiet. Maybe a dog barking.
I think
in the
there was
Little
distance.
AC
I
machine
think a tumbleweed
coming
flew
through
by.
the window.
So we go in, and we see the flat top. She's got a flat top grill there, and they have the kind of menu that's on the board where you stick the letters on in a white background.
From Alice.
Right. And
Mel ran that diner.
So we knew we had to try the burger. So we ordered, there were 5 of us there. We ordered 3 burgers and asked her to cut them up. She goes, "You city folk, you confused
Did we
me."
get our senior discount?
I forgot to ask.
You weren't 60 yet. Was it?
That's right.
We got our senior discount because the burger was like $2.95. She cut those up, and they were delicious. They were
Wonderful.
that steamy,
Yes.
Yeah, a
like,
little greasy.
like Bob's Burger
Yeah.
type deal. Really, really good. So we ate those, and then we got the hell out of town because we heard the locals were heading our way. We had to get out of there. They go, "We suggest you leave now." From there, we went to C&D's bar in Tico. But we
Yep.
stopped at a grave site on the way. If you remember, my helmet broke.
Yes.
And we had to work on it. But there was a graveyard from the 1800s and probably into the 1900s.
A lot of little children.
And it was on a little hill overlooking this beautiful rolling green.
Palouse.
Yeah. And
Say no more.
a lot of people can't picture it. So think about
Little House on the Prairie.
puffy white clouds, bright blue skies, rolling green hills.
5 drunk people. 4 blind
That
mice.
wasn't
cemetery.
2 turtle doves. And a partridge in a pear tree.
Just picture it, if you will.
It was beautiful.
Bob Ross, is that you?
So we stopped at the graveyard. We all folded our arms and looked at it for a few minutes. We fixed my helmet, which fell apart.
Which
and
it took engineer Bobby Chong to fix.
and Keith Wombold,
That's right.
who has a little engineer in him. Well, he did when he was younger. And we headed from there to.
Was that a Bobby Chong joke?
We ended up at Bobby's Place in Plummer, Idaho. Now, Bobby's Place is the last bar before you get to a casino in this little town, Native
Oh, that's
American
right.
town. And we
You know,
went
I forgot
inside.
about it until you just mentioned
We
that.
went inside, and there was this. And apparently they can smoke in there, and they
Yes.
did. But we went and sat at the bar, and the young man serving us, big tall kid, probably about 25 years old. He turned out to be nice enough, and we
Yeah.
got bags of chips
Yep.
for $1. And we sat there and we had a drink, and then said, "Okay, let's go. Let's get out of here." But we learned
fueled
a lot.
up. We fueled up and then took off.
We fueled up. From there, we ended up at a saloon that we really liked in a town called Rockford, called Frednick's.
That's a great name for starters right there.
Unassuming initially.
Well,
And it grew.
It was a Quonset-style building, if I remember,
Right.
off a side road in a side town. But it was the most popular bar in the area. You could tell it was busy. We walked in. We couldn't even get at the bar,
It was
It was
real
kind of
busy.
it was kind of
Yeah.
horseshoe bar at one end, and
Yeah.
the other end was kind of just open
and
with a lot of coolers.
So apparently they didn't see a lot of Vespa Italian scooters in that town. We got a little bit of attention. They've seen a lot of Harleys and rat rods and that sort of thing, but not anything with the likes of us. So
Imagine that.
we sat there. We got to know the owner a little bit, and Delise, who was serving us, and told us a story. But one thing they did is they cleared the dance floor. Do you remember that?
Well, but remember they had coolers, ice chest coolers, because they were doing a little farmer's market out the back
Right.
end.
You bring an empty cooler in and pick up a full one, and it was full of vegetables grown
from
in the local area.
local farmers.
Yeah, really cool. And good food.
And we shut that business down for a few minutes to do what?
They moved everything aside. They opened up the dance floor. We drove our scooters inside and did a photo shoot. And then we left them there. And we continued to have it.
That's a first. You know what? We've been in hundreds and hundreds of bars, but never with our scooters.
And never on a dance floor.
That's right.
Yeah.
Couldn't do that in Tacoma or Seattle.
Not very often. Maybe once. But thanks to Frednick's, a lot of fun. And we actually picked up a little story from Delise. Her family owned the bar before the most recent owner had it. I can't remember his name, but what a great guy.
But can I go back for just a moment? Parking all 5 scooters in that bar for that long was pretty impressive. But I do recall a time a couple years back when you parked yours in a hotel lobby overnight.
The Ride Hotel down in the Delta in Sacramento.
Yes.
And I did
so it
not.
has been done before.
Daddy went to sleep early.
Well, in the morning, your scooter was right in the lobby.
It was in the lobby in front of the front desk, and I couldn't find my glasses, which were in there. And so I had to walk downstairs and couldn't see.
I think that was a paranormal experience. I think ghosts moved those scooters, and that's what started this whole thing.
The Ride Hotel
you know what? You're right,
is known to be haunted, for sure.
Yeah.
There you go.
The Delta. But
Hotel
I think
California.
It's also called Hotel California, but we digress. We also talked to Delise, and she gave us a little bit of a story about the history and some things that have happened at Frednick's in the past, long in the past. So let's go to Delise at Frednick's. Delise is here from Frednick's. Yeah. What did it used to be called when your family owned it?
It was Chick's Tavern.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. That's when the Husks had it. Fred and Lila Husk.
Sweet.
It was Fred and Chick and Fred.
Nice. So you're still here.
I'm here. I'm new here. But
and is it haunted?
Not new to Frednick's. I've been here 5 years.
Oh.
Yeah, some shit has happened.
All right. We want you to say the F word, too. You can just say that anytime you want.
Because if you know me, I do.
I know, I did. I've already heard it.
Yeah.
Okay, tell us the best story you can think of.
Okay, well, we had this mirrored disco ball, round, heavy, okay? A spittoon. The spittoon kind of has a little lip for it and, kind of round, something could fit in it.
Right.
So I put during our party, disco ball into the spittoon. So it's up on the shelf, it's out of the way, it's still got lights flashing on it, it's not a spinning one. It's Frednick's, we're not that fancy.
Got it.
So, a couple weeks go by, I'm walking out, the mirrored disco ball flies up in the air and down onto the ground. The spittoon never tipped over.
It just flew up in the air.
Up and down. Yeah, right, like behind me.
Okay.
So
wow.
So I was like, okay, if you're trying to kill me, but knock that shit off. But I said, oh my God, there's a ghost in here. No one believed me, but that really happened.
Anything else?
Yeah, no.
Okay, go.
But I did say, hey, I love this bar, so you can either stay here and be nice or take your ass to the moon. Because the moon's another town and bar in this town.
Harvest Moon.
Yeah.
I saw it when we were driving in.
Yeah.
Neil Young song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great
my
story.
So where do we go next?
So we went to the Crafted Bar.
Oh, we made it to Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
Our resting stop for Thursday night.
Yeah, that was in Coeur d'Alene. And let's just talk about our Airbnb in Coeur d'Alene.
Should we without
Pendominomo?
Oh, that's right.
So we were like rock stars. We rented this. We weren't like rock stars. We destroyed a room like rock stars.
Yeah.
Well, one of us did.
We rented a sleeping loft in Coeur d'Alene.
Which is really about 5 miles outside of Coeur d'Alene.
It was a mile and a quarter outside of downtown.
Yeah.
And it was an old barn converted into four rooms, big rooms. And we had, 3 big beds in there. And it was just
a little loft bed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice open space.
Keith wakes up in the middle of the night. He doesn't know why, but he gets in a wrestling match with a closet door.
One of those
bifold closet doors. Pulls it off. Throws it on the ground.
And you told him, go to bed. So we didn't really know what was going on until morning.
Yeah, and they were laid out on the floor.
Strewn about.
Broken. So I sent a note to the host and said, hey, we had a little issue with the doors. Hey, sorry. Let us know. We'll take care of it.
We did kind of hang them
we put them
close
back.
to where they were.
And her response about 2 hours later was, oh, my God. This wasn't a little issue. You've destroyed them. So we sent some money to her.
It happens.
It does. From Coeur d'Alene, that morning, we had a tough ride.
Okay, can we take a break? I'm thirsty.
Do you?
Yeah. Can we shut it down for a sec?
Yeah.
Commercial break.
We'll be
How about
right-
a transition?
We'll be back right after this.
This is Pete at Fredneck's Saloon and Beanery in Rockford, Washington, and you are listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters and Bars. Are those your scooters on my dance floor?
Can we fix the chronology of this day?
Why?
You put us back in bed and Keith Sasquatch destruction of our room before we were actually finished with
Bigfoot.
our Thursday ride.
There were deer all around our place too. Remember?
There was scat too,
Yes.
but that was human scat.
All
But
right.
we need to finish our Thursday. We weren't done yet. We had 3 more places, I believe.
Yeah. Well, we got picked up by an Uber. We parked our scooters for the night. And
That's right. We had 3 Coeur d'Alene stops.
You're right. They
in
were
the evening,
after
yes.
after
That's
we
right.
checked in at the place that Keith destroyed
Right.
later. We started out. We got picked up by the cash cab. Remember, he turned the
was a trivia
music
guy.
up, turned the
Yeah.
music up, and then down, and we had to answer.
But he had light. He had actual
He had the
light
lights.
strobe things on the. Not a strobe. It
The
was
thing
blue,
is, we got
green.
almost every question right, and we didn't win any cash.
No.
So he wasn't the real cash cab.
No, but
Apparently
we were a
not.
good team.
We were. We got
Yeah.
all the species of salmon correct. If you remember,
And
what
state-
are the 5
That's
species
right.
of salmon?
And wasn't
that-
it a state bird or some sort of state
Yeah, state
fowl
bird.
of some
Yeah.
sort?
Yeah,
we
and-
nailed it.
And Bob got a lot of that because
Yeah.
you know.
Well, he's the oldest.
He's a bird hunter. I killed a bunch of them. So we started out at the Moose Lounge there in downtown Coeur d'Alene, and we had a couple
on a corner
of rounds.
street of Maine, the main
right,
drag.
right
there.
on the main drag. We went from there to the Crafted Bar Room.
Is that where we had dinner?
I don't know. Yeah, I think
I think
so.
we did.
And then
good food.
it was getting a little foggy by then.
No shit.
And then from there, the Iron Horse.
Yeah, I vaguely remember an Iron Horse.
So somebody's got a phone going off again. Let's fix
Well,
it.
that's you.
Mine's up
once
over
again.
there. Yours is over. Where's yours, Lonnie?
Up his ass.
Move it away. Move it away.
You've been warned, lizard.
Oh, well, dock my pay, fucker.
I'll have you and Jess like, okay. So the Iron Horse was our final stop, and then we had dinner somewhere. We can't remember where.
I think we had dinner at the Crafted Bar.
Oh,
I think
those
so.
long
Yeah,
tables.
the picnic table
inside
type,
that.
open.
Yeah.
And then off.
Then we had one more
At the
after
Iron
hours.
House.
but
You're
yeah.
That was a long day.
It was a very long day. We got back to the room. Keith destroyed it. We got up in the morning, got out of there before we got busted.
Yes. And the doors were hanging when we left. They were off the ground.
The good
and
news
hanging.
is we paid up. She gave us a good rating. We gave her a good rating. And
Hope never to see each other again.
That completed Thursday, the whole day.
And they were on to Friday.
We are. And how many bars? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 bars.
Yeah, on Thursday.
Right.
And then what happened Friday?
That's
Because
a
we
big
only made
day.
it to 5 on
Because
Friday.
we got caught up. Now, if you remember our ride on leaving Coeur d'Alene and heading to Sandpoint, it was awful. I mean, we had
It
to
was
get,
chilly.
Well, not just that, but there was only a freeway in between.
Oh, it's a long straight
So we
shot,
found
like
that
a-
side street, and we
Yeah.
went on that for a while. We had to go through a downtown kind of.
We
a
were struggling to
urban-
find a rural area. It was
Right,
all
away-
kind of semi.
And nobody could say,
suburban
yeah, the only
bullshit.
route is really just
Yeah.
that straight shot. But we found a place to have breakfast. Was that the Boondocks Bar where we had that
Yes.
breakfast?
Yeah, that was a good breakfast.
It
Little
was
homey,
good. Yeah.
nice little family
Did they have
restaurant.
liquor? Did they have liquor there?
I think we had a beer. I was
We
beer
had,
and
we
wine.
were having
yeah.
a beer because they did not have
Hard liquor.
correct.
Okay.
And we weren't there long. Maybe
No.
maybe an hour.
Good breakfast.
But it was one of those typical
Yeah.
day 3. Do we really want to get going?
Well, it was day 3. Hate thyself.
That's right. Loathe thyself day.
It was self-loathing day. For some reason, we couldn't get it going for a while.
Well, it was kind of a depressing ride to that point. It
And
was
we-
like a 45-minute.
Sandpoint.
And then after Boondocks, we had a little food in our stomach. Things looked a little better. And then
You know
the
what?
skies opened.
You're wrong. Boondocks Bar was a place that looked like a 1970s place that
little
was
shithole-
on the
yes.
side of it. You didn't write down where we had breakfast. It was like the Pine Cone Cafe
are we
something
throwing
like
people
that.
under the bus right
well,
now?
it was
We're
just
kinda
you had
pointing
one
fingers?
job to do.
Oh, that's
one
right.
job to do.
Boondocks looked
Yeah.
like a
We had-
manufactured home
Yes.
almost.
Right,
Yeah.
it was.
It
And
was
right.
just a stop because we'd been riding for 45,
That's right.
50
right,
minutes.
Right, it was terrible.
It was.
And all the televisions were tube televisions.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
had a
24
ping
inch.
pong table. It had indoor-outdoor carpeting
Yeah.
on the inside.
A ramp. It ramped up
was
to the
If
door.
you remember, the bartender sat in a folding chair behind the bar and
That's
didn't
right.
stand up and
Yes.
grab things.
She was an octopi.
That was
That's right.
That
That
was
was
horrible.
Boondocks.
That was in
That
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. Yeah,
So-
breakfast was before that
Okay,
somewhere.
so that took
Yeah.
our self-loathing down another level.
yeah, we felt a little better.
And we fueled up at the gas
Right
station
next
next
door.
door,
Right.
Yep.
right?
And then it's like, okay, I think we might be ready to turn
We
the
just
corner.
might, we know, or we need to go load up and just go home.
And that was not going to happen.
So,
We're not quitters.
So then we land in Sandpoint.
Unassuming
Still
standpoint.
feeling
219
a little bit,
bar is there. There's a couple bars on the
right
street.
across the street from where we parked. We went into the 219 lounge,
Yeah.
right?
And it was a nice bar. Nothing special.
yeah, very well old
Yet.
building.
Yeah.
But
But they've revamped it. They've
there was a
modernized.
dude bartending, but he was a wise old
Yeah,
bartender.
he was.
And
You could learn a thing or two
We
from him.
we liked him right away.
He had a
Took good
cowboy
care
hat,
of us.
right?
Yeah, he had a fedora. Yeah.
Some hat, yeah.
Yeah, and he was a lifelong bartender, probably about 60, 65 years old, maybe a little bit older, and was on
kindred
top of his
spirit.
game. And he said, "Yeah, we've got a little deck out in the back, you know." So we had a drink,
Well,
and then we ordered another one. We walked
out
up
there,
there, and it was sort of it faced the alley.
Open the back,
And it was
open to the
brick
back
on
street
each
or alley,
side,
yeah.
open to the alley,
With
and
a
we
little
had a
tent over
stand-up
the
table,
top.
and we decided we're just going to have to fix.
We're gonna have
fix
our own
ourselves.
party and have a little pick me up.
all by ourselves. So we're having Tito's and soda, thinking this is it. This is what
After
we're
this
gonna
drink,
do.
we'll go across the street and find another bar in
We
town.
look, so what was it? 50 feet away, the alley. People walk by in the alley. We see three women walking by, and they look in and they see us having a drink, and they
And
go,
what'd they say?
They
said
screamed
something.
at us, "Hey, that's our table!"
What are you doing at our table?
That's right. And we didn't know quite what to say because we were the only people there.
But we weren't speechless.
But there was a story.
Well, they had been there the night before, and they had whooped it up, and they were in trouble with their husbands.
They're from Montana,
And they were from Montana.
in town for a wedding.
They were, and they'd misbehaved a little bit, and they were out just trying to give everybody some room, so they thought they'd go get a tattoo.
Right. They were getting up.
I think it was a "fuck you" tattoo.
Yes. They were done with the group, I think, or husbands. They were going to do their own thing
Right.
before the wedding.
And so
They hadn't showered yet.
No.
They kept. I got to shower. I need to go shower.
Yeah, so they came. They walked in. They bought their own drinks, but we had a drink with them. And
It's like they stuck though.
then
they didn't go.
Then
to the
we
bar.
started talking. Then it was 2 drinks, and pretty soon
I remember it started raining.
it started
Then it poured.
pouring
Yeah.
down
It
rain.
poured.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
we couldn't go anywhere. We were struck.
So we visited, and they were very, very nice people. We visited with Michael and Sarah and
Amy, wasn't it?
Well, angry Amy, I think it was.
We had to hunker down for a while.
We know. They were all great. We just had a great long talk, and our day turned around 100%.
We were back.
Though we do own T-shirts. They want Chasing Ghosts T-shirts.
Well, I thought we were done with the podcast until now. Apparently, it's going to live for another month or two.
Oh, we're not done. So, and actually, Michael told us a little story about the Crybaby House
Oh, that's right.
that she visited.
Yep.
Why don't we listen to that real quick?
Okay, so we were at Bannon, which is a fully established ghost town, been kept up and everything. And
Is it in Montana?
Yeah, it is in Montana. It's 30 minutes outside of Dillon, Montana. And we were walking through, had the pamphlet and everything. And
Bring it down a little bit. We're in the rain.
yeah, I know. Right. So we were walking around and I was reading the pamphlet and I was telling my mother-in-law, I was like, we need to go to the Crybaby House. They say the Crybaby House is haunted, and that's where they would put everybody the children who had syphilis, or not syphilis, but what am I trying to think of? Smallpox.
recording here, dickhead.
Oh, what are we doing?
We're
Okay, so
recording
you're
my
in the
ghost.
crybaby house.
We're in the crybaby house, and I was reading it out loud to my mother-in-law before I stepped in. My father-in-law had walked all the way to the back of the crybaby house and was going out the back door. And I walked in and I said, "Hey, Sandy," I was like, "This is the crybaby house." And I go to walk in, and I take 2 steps into the living room, and the door to the hallway slams shut in my face.
Wow.
And I literally went outside screaming. I was like, "Oh my
Okay,
God."
was there any wind?
No wind.
It wasn't windy?
Wasn't windy. House wasn't tilted because my father-in-law and my husband made
There
me
was
go.
nobody behind it?
No, they made me go back into the house, and the door was fucking open, and nobody was around. Nobody was around.
So, Michael,
Yes,
that's a good story.
I know.
So we left Sandpoint.
Well, hold on. That was a nice story.
Yeah, it
So
was. It
substitute.
was. I mean,
it wasn't the bar, but it was her story.
It was, and once again, a pleasure to meet them. I think Michael's been listening to the podcast, so thank you. And as soon as I get your each individual sizes, we're going to get those shirts off to you. So we left Sandpoint. We had to leave
Yeah.
after we made a little side trip to the tattoo parlor where they were getting tattoos. They followed through,
Are you going to play that audio?
and I don't think so. So there they were. At
Well,
their-
one was a mountain.
yes.
One was not getting a tattoo.
One was not going to get the lizard on her inner thigh, pointing to the something
heavens.
or other. The heavens. Yes. So off we went to Bonner's Ferry, which was a 30 or 40-minute ride, I think.
Yeah.
And I think that we chose not to wear helmets for part of it. So, like I was
Because
saying,
we were in a free state,
right, we chose not to wear helmets.
and that was a liberating ride.
It was so liberating that both of us said, "Please don't tell our wives."
Yeah, as much as they hate us, apparently we do something for them.
Right now, we're still worth more alive
Yes.
than dead. So we headed to Bonner's Ferry. We stopped at the Bonner's Ferry Lodge where we stayed, whatever it was called.
Right.
Log building with green metal roof. It was okay. No hot water.
Just outside town.
And we cleaned up, and we met a nice couple that rode an old, our great big Indian
Huge
motorcycle,
RV.
big RV with trailer. Had a drink with them, and then headed into town.
Yep.
Which was to downtown was maybe a mile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we stopped at a place called Jack's Club, right down there on Kootenai.
Yes.
Yes, in Bonner's Ferry. And it had a basement bar that was huge, probably would have hold 500 people.
Like a hall.
And nobody was in there.
Yeah, it was more like
not a soul.
And it
like
started
an Elks
out with
Club.
just you and I.
And we
and we
rounded the
walked
corner,
in,
and there's the bartender.
And he's hunched over, and he's got his back to us.
And I said, "What are you jacking off?"
So that went over because he turned around and he had prison tattoos.
All
and he was
over
bigger
his
than
face,
both of us.
yes. And he had a look about him.
Imagine that.
So I'm sorry.
So we immediately apologized.
Yeah, I puckered my sphincter and said, "No, I'm just kidding." Ha ha ha. And we warmed him over.
Anyway, he put his phone down.
Yeah.
And then...
and his dick in his pants, and the rest of the time was okay.
Oh, God.
And we ordered some White Claws.
We ordered some white wine.
And chowder.
And a Cosmopolitan.
And his chowder.
So we had one quick drink there. We
And
did
got
walk
the hell
around. The
out.
place was huge. I mean,
Yeah.
it had 2 or 3 floors. It was like a meeting hall. It was a whole bunch of different things. We walked over.
And a halfway house, apparently.
Yes, we walked over to Muggsy's Tavern from there. That was a nice experience.
Yeah, it had a tiny little bar, but then kind of a picnic area restaurant outside.
Right. We tried to be in the bar first. I think
It was crowded, too crowded. We couldn't, not room enough for all of
I
us.
don't know if it was Lauren or Allie that served us inside, but one of the two served us both inside and outside.
It was Allie. I was whistling. I was thinking, yeah.
Was
sorry.
that you making that noise? I was
Sorry.
like, whoa.
Sorry, Skipper.
How are the pain pills doing?
I could use one right about now, and so could our listeners.
Both of them. So
the one pole and the Aussie.
We ended up getting a table outside. They
asked us to go outside.
Yes, we had a nice dinner out there, and we spoke to Lauren and both. I think Lauren served us outside then. We actually got a story from both Lauren and Allie. So why don't we just cue those up and and let's go.
Tee him up and go.
Yep.
Do it.
I'm with Allison. She just turned 21. And she's the bartender here at Muggsy's in Bonners Ferry, Idaho.
Yes.
Is it haunted?
Yes.
Did something happen?
A few things happen. Pictures fly off the walls. There's been some lady saw the guy in orange suspenders, yellow pants and orange suspenders sitting at the bar and said it was a ghost. This building previously was a hotel and it burnt down.
Oh.
So
They rebuilt it as Muggsy's?
yeah, it was rebuilt.
What's happened to you, though?
What's happened to me?
Yeah. Anything
watched-
that's really been weird?
I've watched pictures fly off the walls at me across the room that's
Really?
has no...
Just right off the wall?
No reason. It just jumps off the wall into the middle of the room.
So what did you
Completely,
do?
like-
What'd you do?
Just put it back up. Figured the guy in the picture was probably who was mad and needed to say something.
Anybody else have things happen?
My boss has tea bags fly off the shelves. Out of the container. They fly and hit her in the head.
Tea bags in the head.
Right.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So you know what? As we've
As
been talking, a plane has flown over and the
and
trains
the train
are
is
going by.
past. What else? Oh, there's so many stories.
But it's haunted, and you've experienced it.
Yeah. Oh, we were watching the cameras one night, and there's someone, like, there's an outline of a person. It was dark at the table.
Yeah, shadow person.
A shadow person. Obviously, there was nobody in the building.
Yeah.
I've had a couple of the girls see a young boy walk past them.
Wow. Well, that's cool.
There's
Allie.
those.
Nice stuff.
Nice stuff.
So we're with Allie
At Muggsy's.
at Muggsy's.
In Bonners
And
Ferry.
whose birthday is it?
It's mine.
Happy birthday.
So when I was living in Kanab, Utah, I was living in an RV at the time, and when I first moved there...
Were you homeless?
No, I had an RV. So I got this RV, and one night
Was it a Bounder?
It was a Fleetwood Southwind.
Oh, I love the Southwind.
1983.
23?
It was, yes.
Yeah, that's a nice one.
And it wasn't after I lived in it. I sold it for about $200 after I lived in it. So one night, it was when I first moved there, I saw somebody walk in front of, it was completely dark. I saw somebody walk in front of my window. And then I hear a knock on my door. So I go to answer the door, and I thought it was my boyfriend surprising me.
Right.
And so
Booty call? Booty knock?
Booty. Yeah, actually, that's funny you say that, because that's his name in my phone. So it's like, Booty is calling. Anyways, side note.
Yes or no?
Basically, yeah.
Anyway.
Booty's calling. Booty was not calling, because I went outside. I answered the door, and nobody was there. Right? So, anyways, fast forward a year. And I moved to a completely different house, and moved my RV to a completely different house. Same neighborhood, though. And it's 3 a.m, witching hour. And I wake up, and all of a sudden, for no reason, I, normally sleep sound throughout the night. Well, I wake up at 3 a.m, and I'm like, I'm really thirsty.
And have to pee at the same time. Always a problem.
Always. Especially when you don't have a working water pump because you broke it in your RV. So you got to go out and drink water out of the spigot. So I go out and fill up my water bottle out of the spigot, go back in my RV, lock the door, go to lay down, and there's 3 knocks on my door.
The Trinity.
The Trinity? What do you mean the Trinity? What's that?
3 knocks.
3 knocks, yes. And it was the first time, too. It was 3 knocks, both times. Nobody was there. Went out there, nobody was there.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if I had a haunted RV or if I lived in a haunted neighborhood, but I will tell you that same friend that I was telling you about, Michelle, her name's Michelle. I worked with her. And she, so like I said, head of the Ghost Hunters Association of Nevada. Well, I ended up working wilderness therapy when I was down there as well, and they have a lot of really, really wild stories about ghosts and paranormal out in the field because you're walking on Indian burial grounds. You're sleeping and living in the woods on Indian burial grounds. Well, I did this story, or I did this job, and when I first started, I went over to Michelle's house, and I gave her my handbook because she was so excited about this new job, and she looks at it, and she said, oh my, she started crying. She's like, Windwalker. She tells me this story about how when she first moved into her house, she saw this Indian Native American spirit who lingered around the house, and she would try to communicate with him and try to get his name. And she could not get his name. He wouldn't speak to her for a couple of years. After a few years, she talks to another woman, and her husband actually built that house. And her husband lived in this house as well. Like, ever since he was a kid, he lived in this house. And this house, he had seen the spirit too. And he's a cowboy-looking dude. Like, you would never think that he'd believe in spirits, but he did. And so she talks to the woman who, husband, he owned, he built the house, whatever, finds out that it's Native American remains under the house when they were excavating the property.
Wow.
Well, Michelle finally got this Indian's name, this Native American's name, and his name was Windwalker. And the handbook said Windwalker Manual. That's what I was called as a staff in wilderness therapy. And so it was just, she is a hoot. Like,
she put that all together.
She put that together fast, and she could tell you all kinds of creepy stories from down there.
Well, what you mentioned Utah earlier.
Yeah.
You know about skinwalker rats.
Yeah, I've heard many stories about skinwalkers down there.
Yeah,
many people, kids in the field seeing skinwalkers.
Yeah,
seeing the coyote head and the human body.
Yeah, dog man.
Yeah, staff having sleep paralysis because they literally couldn't move, and they would see a skinwalker near them. Yeah, I have heard some crazy stories from that area, more than anywhere else I've lived. That place.
So Lauren, thank you so much for your great stories and your great service.
Sweet. You're welcome.
High five on that.
Okay, so we left Muggsy's. We went to a place called the Cross Time. Now, that's named after a very famous science fiction novel, and he was a science fiction fan.
Right. You must be a reader.
I am a reader of science fiction, and if you've read the Cross Time novel, then you would know what the saloon was decorated like. But we posted it, and what was cool about this, it was in the basement of an old building, and he had the Cross Time saloon on one side. She had a wine bar on the other.
She being his wife.
She was an English woman, and they had two separate bars with a glass door between them, and he served bar in one, and she served bar in the other. And she preferred us on his side.
Yes.
Yeah, which was just fine for us because she was a British.
No, easy. She just didn't want us in there.
No, I don't know. She was busy with other people.
Yeah. So anyway, they were very nice, and we were there for a while, and we left, and everybody.
Well, but we were worried. They warned us about the
police.
Popo in town, that mile ride home, so we decided to stagger.
And we were the only,
so to speak,
traffic. There was no cars in town, nothing. It was just our bikes.
Completely dark, and they were all parked together.
Yes.
So two left, and then I went by myself.
No.
You were
two
with
left. Me. The lizard and I left first. Saw two cops waiting in a grocery store parking lot. We went by hoping nothing would happen. Then we worried about you guys.
Right.
Then two more showed up because you couldn't find your keys.
Right. I had to. We went back to Muggsy's.
Well, you'd never left.
And talked to Lauren and Allie, and then I realized I left my key at the Cross Time. I go back to get it, and it's locked up.
The door's locked, and they're downstairs.
Right, they can't hear me, so I just start beating on the doors, and finally he heard me and brought him up, and thank goodness, it would have been ugly.
But the lizard and I were worried that you guys, because then now it'd been a while,
right?
Nowhere to be found. Going, oh shit, they got caught, and we're outside waiting, and you go right by our resort.
Yeah, well,
like you were heading back.
I was distracted. I was heading back
219.
We were a little bit worried. We weren't that worried because we made it safe.
We would have kept going the next day.
Yeah, that's one of the rules. If one of us breaks down or has a problem, then the rest keep going. Shit. Right. So that was our time in Bonners Ferry. Just note to everybody, when it gets dark out, that town shuts down.
Ooh, yeah. It was done.
But a very charming and historical town other than that. And we're just kidding about Jack's Club. It was really a very cool place, and we don't want to piss anybody off because he was a scary dude.
He warmed up, though.
He did. He was fine. So there you go.
So we made it home, back to the place.
We did, and that was it for the night.
Friday night in the books.
It was done.
I'm Allison.
And I'm Lauren.
And we're in Bonners Ferry, Idaho at Mugsy's.
And you're listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars.
We were done with the self-loathing by Saturday morning.
Oh, we were way over it.
And we were committed at this point.
Yeah, we were
And
actually
just about
having a good
getting
time.
back
Finally
into it.
forgot about all.
Yeah.
I compartmentalized all the issues I
And we
had
stayed
in my
at a wonderful shithole hotel. Looked cool on the outside, brick, right in the corner.
That was in Wallace.
Right.
Yeah, we're not to Wallace yet, man. We're still
we're
in
still
Bonners
in
Ferry.
that's right. We're this whole thing is bleeding together. That's right. We got up and rode.
We did, and it was cool out. If you remember, it was.
That's right.
We had to put a coat on,
Yeah.
and you would expect it to be 80, 90 degrees, but it was in the low 50s.
But
maybe
we were heading
40s.
to Montana.
We were.
We're
We're
duck
leaving
into Montana.
the northern panhandle of Idaho, up the hill, and then heading east on our way to Montana through another mountain pass.
And
We went
Bobby
through
Chung had a stop for us.
Yeah, we stopped after we went over the mountain pass.
It was
we
a little
stopped.
chilly.
We did a little scout for Sasquatch and had
That's
a
right.
well, you
warming-
Can, you
little
can
warming
never
party.
have too much Jaeger.
Yeah.
We did a morning routine, and then we headed into a town called Troy.
Got some cash at the cash machine.
We did, and then
found a great little bar that Bobby Chung had.
It was a
been to
big
before.
bar called the Home Bar in Troy, and it's been there since 1914.
Wow.
And it's a very popular big bike bar, Harley bar.
Yeah.
Once again, here we are parking our Italian scooters, and they don't see much of that there.
No.
However, we opened it up.
Like always, they welcome us.
We were the first there, so it was like we staked our claim.
Cool inside little theater, open theater outdoor.
Right, and we sat outside, and we had pretty standard awful breakfast. If you remember, that was kind of a microwave egg sandwich thing. But
had to use sauce.
We put something in our gut, and the bar itself was cooler in hell.
got the
Very
job done.
nice. And finished up at the Home Bar, and then headed to the halfway house in Bull Lake.
And it was halfway between the next town.
It was, but it was more than 11 miles. I think it was 13 or 14 miles.
That was a long ride.
And it was okay, not great, but we had it was where you had to go.
Right.
There was no other options. Had a drink there. Met a couple from Tacoma.
Yeah, our hometown.
That were looking for a
retirement place,
or a getaway or something. Yeah,
No, they're
cabin.
going to retire there.
Yeah, looking for inexpensive retirement.
Well, I get that.
Community.
Welcome to my downsizing. And from there, we went to Noxon, Montana, Toby's Bar. And by the way, I need to mention that Bull Lake and Troy are in Montana. So now we've gone from Washington, Idaho, all the way to Montana.
Pretty cool.
Toby's Bar.
Toby's was a classic.
We could barely find it. Remember, we drove around.
We had to ask.
We had to drive across this old bridge across this river.
Went into a
and
town,
then
kind
went
of-ish.
the wrong way, and then they
had to go
sent us
down
down
a dead
a dirt
end.
road,
Yeah.
and we end up at this bar, which was busy.
Yes,
Lots of guys on their four-wheelers, remember? It was a little
Their
vacation
gators.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Locals and a mix.
In
But the inside was cool. A lot of eclectic stuff hanging
It was a
everywhere.
mega territory also.
What was in the back?
Well, they had mountain lions that were fornicating, and they were stuffed.
And we got a
And
picture
apparently
stuffed in
they're
front of
famous.
them.
And I think they said that there is a couple of movie stars that live in the neighborhood that come in there and hang out. And one of them was, I'll have it in a moment. Let's keep going.
Okay.
He just was
But they
nominated
were-
for an Oscar last year.
But it was a big Trump town.
Very
Because our
Trump, yeah.
bartender was wearing a Trump
It was
T-shirt.
pretty conservative territory.
Yeah, which is great. And her dad started the bar, and he's still there.
Her brother was there.
Her brother was there. They both told us stories. She did not want to be recorded, but she did tell us a story about marbles. And when her dad
right.
was kind of a jokester, and he loved there was something about marbles. And after he passed, and there were no marbles in the bar, she came to work one day, and there was a whole jar full of marbles just sitting right there. And she had a couple other stories, and
It would have been great. It would have been a great story, but she refused to talk.
Well, once again, pretty conservative area. So,
but that was a good stop.
It was.
I highly
It was a good
recommend
stop,
it.
yeah.
Got to stop there if you're ever in Noxon.
Vigil Mortensen is the actor.
Oh yeah, that guy.
Oh,
Yeah.
Beagle. Yeah.
VG, Beagle, whatever. Mortensen. I'm going to look it up and I'll fix it. I know exactly who it is. He's kind of a rough, tough guy, and he did a story about a family living in the woods. Survivalist type stuff.
Nobody cares. Let's go.
And his name is Beagle.
Let's get to the next
Whatever.
From Toby's, which we highly recommend. We're giving it a scoot to it if you ever can.
Absolutely.
Big dicks up.
I bet you we're the only people that have ever scooted there on a Vespa.
I drink to that too.
We went to the Wayside Bar in Trout Creek, where we met Robin.
Yes.
And the Wayside Bar, she had huckleberry drinks. She had fresh huckleberries, and she made.
You guys tried.
Yeah, it was delicious, and very, very good.
I had good food. That was good food. That's where we ate lunch, right?
Maybe. I don't think so.
No, I think we did.
Then maybe I've got it confused with the Spragpole.
Anyway, I remember the huckleberry part.
Isn't that where the kid was throwing up?
I'll be your huckleberry. No, that's the halfway house.
Anyway.
Oh, we digress. It was Saturday.
We did a dozen. We did a baker's dozen on Saturday.
Yeah, we did.
Okay. From there, we ended up at the Wild Coyote. You know why we had to stop?
Why?
My scooter blew up. My scooter blew out its header pipe.
Well, it was time.
Well, it was time, but it was a scary deal for me because here I was in, was it Idaho or Montana? I'm not even sure. I think it was Montana.
Yeah.
Where we gone down the mountain pass, and I'd blown off my header pipe. It broke in half. And
you didn't know that at the time, but you felt something amiss.
Well, I'm sure Keith knew because he was the one working on it. And he worked on it and worked on it. I'm like, Anyway, it ran okay, but it sounded like it was a very loud thing.
Well, the Wayside was the biker bar. That's right. That's where we stopped.
Well, the
baling wire. He had baling wire next door.
That was a Wild Coyote, and that's where the Native American.
That was our first attempt to finish it.
Okay, yeah.
No, about 50
so
Harleys.
The Wayside is where we ate lunch. They had kids in there.
Oh, right.
They had the little. We went straight up the bar. There were kids behind us with families.
Right. I said food. That's where they had the
and then the Wild Coyote was the biker bar with a couple of real locals out there wondering why scooters are pulling in.
Yeah. Right.
We got looks.
So we finally got out of there, and then we took the shortcut that we were told about at Toby's and went up that windy road that took us down into Wallace, Idaho.
Yeah, a good ride.
But before we got there, we stopped at the Pritchard Tavern in Pritchard, Idaho. So now we're back in Idaho, and we went to this place that was a huge old farmhouse turned into a tavern on a creek. It had a campground, big popular campground around it, then a huge parking lot, all dirt road. You had to come in on a kind of a side dirt road.
Couple bars, a few homes.
One bar. You're thinking of
Pritchard. It had that haunted one with a miner on the corner. We did not have time because your bike was a mess.
You're wrong. Pritchard was a single standalone bar, and it had they were Catholic, and they had the place exercised, and it was a bar all by itself with a campground and a parking lot. And we went in there, and Nicole worked behind the bar, and she told us the story of the place being exercised. In fact, why don't we listen to it now? I'm with Nicole. We're at the Pritchard Tavern in what town?
Pritchard, Idaho.
In Pritchard. But this is the whole town, right?
This is it.
Right.
Everything else burned down.
So you used to have a ghost in this bar.
Yes.
What happened that made you want to get rid of the ghost in this bar?
Well, we used to hear things all the time, mostly back in the kitchen. And one night after we closed, we were sitting right here by the Starbucks, and all of a sudden, pieces of rock on this rock wall started flying out of the wall.
My goodness.
I'm flying across the room into that wall.
Oh my God.
And it was really scary, and that was kind of the final straw. So we went and talked to a priest at the Catholic Church and asked him if he would come and do a blessing, and he brought holy salt and holy water and blessed the whole bar, and we haven't had anything since.
It's a very cool bar. What year did it open?
1897.
Wow. So if you ever get to Pritchard, Idaho, I highly recommend you meet Nicole and her mom, Ingrid, and have a drink. It's very cool. Thank you. Thank you, Nicole, for your story. And I am a new Catholic. I think that this is an important piece of what I've been working on, but we'll leave that sit there. And I also want to clear up the fact that you got the Pritchard and the Spragpole mixed up.
I did, yeah. I'm better now. Now that I listened to her, I'm
okay.
back together again.
So the Spragpole.
I'm like Humpty Dumpty.
From the Pritchard, we went to the Spragpole. Spragpole was in Murray. Murray was this town. It was a mining town, and the mines go down underneath the town.
Shafts.
And one of the bars there became famous because they dug the mine underneath the master bedroom bed, and they dug straight down from there and got a bunch of stuff, and he hid that mine or something happened. But a whole bunch of history, including the whole town, had a flood and a mudslide that came down the streets, and
a mud flood
tore up the whole town, and local contractors came in and tried to fix everything. It was a
pretty cool story.
A great museum.
They have a museum attached to the Spragpole that's
free.
Well, I think it's free, but it's huge.
Well, we didn't pay, so I hope it's free.
Yeah, and we tried to get some muffler tape for my scooter at that place. Yep. We couldn't get it, but we moved on.
We limped on through.
And we got up over another pass and then came down the back way into Wallace, Idaho, which I've heard about forever because it used to be the prostitution center of Idaho and Montana and even Washington, that they just shut down back in the late 70s, early 80s. So we're about 40 years too late.
Damn it.
But we stayed at the Wallace Hotel, which used to be a hospital and known to be haunted.
And that is a bit of a shithole.
It is awful.
But the outside looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, we were right downtown, and they've revitalized that town. And it's now it's more of a hiker paradise, four-wheelers, all that kind of stuff. Zip lines,
outdoorsy. A lot of four-wheelers, or what are the... Quads.
Yeah.
Tons of quads all over the place.
A lot of bikers.
No helmets.
And very picturesque. I mean, mountains all around this little town, and there we were down there, hanging out in the bars.
A few of those too.
So we started at the Jameson Saloon, which
had a good drink there.
One of the most beautiful back bars I've ever seen. A big arch on it, gorgeous. We then went over to the 1313 Club, which was a nice restaurant.
We heard good things, but it wasn't our clique.
Yeah, just a little
too modern, too nice.
It wasn't a modern building, but it was it was a
family style.
Yeah. So we had a quick drink and we left, and then we were recommended to go to Albee's Gem Bar.
And there we hit
which is backed by Jameson's. Yeah, and we met Bonnie. And her husband, was
big time, because he ran that town. As we found out the next morning.
He was very involved in lots of buildings.
What was his name? Great guy.
He cooked for us.
He drinks Canadian Dry.
Yes, he does.
Because he came after he cooked.
We had drinks with him later at the Silver Corner, but Bonnie did a little transition, which was great. We were all recommended to go to the Silver Corner Bar. Why was that? Because they have the best bartender in Wallace, Idaho. They make fancy drinks. Remember what they were called? I don't. But they specialized in craft cocktails.
Berry something.
Yeah.
That's where I did not have a berry something.
That's right.
You guys had a berry.
And so we don't tap on this table because it makes all kinds of noise.
Help me tapping.
So we'll share some of that. We went from the corner bar, and we had some adventures at the corner bar, but then we ended up in the final stop at the Metals Bar, which was down heading back toward our hotel.
Afoot, mind you, at this stage.
Afoot, yes. Yeah. We weren't riding. In fact, the whole time in Wallace, we never rode. We got to the Metals Bar, and we kind of liked it. It was nice. The bartender was nice. We're sitting there. Another group came in. Apparently, they'd just gotten married, and the bride was there.
Yes.
And, we exchanged a couple of...
You mentioned something down to the other end of the bar.
It was a friendly little volley. Yeah. And she just blew up.
Snapped! She snapped.
She snapped.
Almost to the point where you're not quite sure. Was she... I thought she was joking.
Yeah.
It was her wedding night.
It was her wedding night.
Oh, without her husband.
No, he was there.
He was
just a little
wormy guy.
Wormy guy.
Was the worm?
He didn't say a word, and she decided to get mad. She was not a good drunk, and she said, "We're leaving." And so the bartender, our friend, said, "You guys ordered a pizza and you paid for it." And she goes, "I don't care," and out she walked.
Because she was not going to stay where you were.
No, she was just an angry person.
But it was because of you.
So We ate their pizza, right?
And so bartender said, "You guys want a pizza?" And she joined us.
Man,
it was
good.
all of us. Yeah, it was a really good
at that
pizza.
hour. It's one of those at that hours. It was outstanding.
So we're going to give props to the metal bar.
Don't you remember though?
The
They
Silver
came back
Corner
looking
bar
for their pizza, or they wanted their money back, or something after that.
They came back about an hour later, going, "Where's our
Get you in
pizza?"
the morning.
And
Yeah.
our
Oh, I don't
bartender
even
goes,
remember
"No,
that."
that's
It's
that's
gone.
already gone." She was great.
So
she handled them and you
Yeah, she
very
did.
well.
I would go back to Wallace anytime.
Yes,
That was fun.
Yeah, it was a very cool town. So www.wallace.com. If you get a chance, go there. We give it a thumbs up from Chasing Ghosts on Scooters and Bars.
This is Tiffany at the Spangle Saloon in Spangle, Washington, and you are listening to Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars. And now, back to the crew.
So alas, we made it to Sunday on our trip.
Well, now we're dealing
Self-loathing is back.
Yeah, now we're
Well, because it's the ride home
We have to get all the way across the state.
to Spokane.
yeah. After a
Right.
couple hours of dicking around with your scooter.
Right, we worked on the scooter all morning.
Thought we had maybe a semi-permanent fix to get us home at least.
What was the town that we stopped in? It was Kellogg, trying to get, we finally got some muffler tape.
Yeah.
And it still didn't really work, but it was a
But
little
Keith-
bit better.
But Keith was really sweating his ass off.
Pendominono.
Pendominono.
He
Pendominomo.
deserves that, boy.
He does, and he's getting it right now. I hope he enjoys it. And let me be clear. We called it the Metals Bar in Wallace. It's called the Metal Bar. The Metal
Right,
Bar.
yes.
Whatever.
Even though they were playing some acoustic folk.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So we ended up spending most of the day worried about my scooter, fucking around with it in the morning. Where were our friends at Portland Vespa, or Vespa Portland, when we need them to work
They're
out?
closed on Sundays.
Oh,
Andrew.
right. Oh, we don't want to interfere with their time off. Andrew goes, well, that sucks. That was his no bag. So we end up in Kellogg, and we found Radio Brewing up in the hill on the old, I guess it's Old Town Kellogg up there.
Yep.
And we met Cliff, if you remember. Cliff has just won a championship in some sort of
Surfing.
but
He's missing a digit.
yeah.
He's down one digit.
But up one extra house. It's the kind of surfing you do behind a
Wake surfing or
artificial
something?
wake.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And I don't know what it's called. If you go letcliffsurf.com.
Yeah, they wouldn't let him surf
hashtag
in
let
in
Cliff
Idaho,
surf.
in Kellogg.
Yeah. Well, it was at Silver Mountain or whatever that resort is. He had a campaign, but it apparently got over it because you were there, Lonnie, right?
Yeah,
Well, he-
I was there
he
again.
What'd you
I heard
find
that
out?
He was made it to nationals, and he won his division or whatever it was. But he's a real stud in his sport, whatever the hell it is.
And from Kellogg, we worked our way to Bob's 21 Club. This was in Post Falls, Idaho, which was
That's
on our
right.
way. And we made a decision right at that point, and we powered our way with my bad exhaust all the way back to the trailer. And if you remember, we came off the freeway, and I found out my brakes failed. So I had no rear
Yeah, we
brakes.
powered from Kellogg to Post Falls on I-90, a good 50 miles.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And we got back up to the trailer. We loaded those things up in 90-plus degree heat.
Yeah,
And we just locked it up and
powered home.
powered home. So those we only made it to two places on Sunday because of my broken scooter. We did do 13 though on the day before.
Yep.
And we did a total of how many bars?
I don't know. Did you add them up? Did we get 40? 39?
We didn't even get close.
36?
Yeah, 14. How many bars did we end up doing, Mark?
32.
32 bars. So
No, that's unofficial. I didn't even count.
well, let's go with it. 32 bars in 4 days.
That's piss poor.
Yeah, well, really 5 days because we had a bonus day on Wednesday.
It's your fault.
It is my fault. But when you have a broken scooter or a flat tire, maybe it happens.
And you can blame it on me.
Well, he had a flat tire 2 years ago or last year. Threw us off.
35 bars.
35 bars.
Not counting Moses Lake.
And not counting our breakfast spot that you didn't.
That's right. I omitted
So
one.
37. 37 bars in
4 days.
4.5 days. We're getting older.
Not bad.
That's right.
There it is. So anyway, thanks to you, our small and loyal listeners. Thanks to Weeknights for our original music, our intrepid writing team of podcasters, and of course, once again, the universe for being playful. And until then, be safe, head on a swivel, keep the rubber side down, and ride, ride, ride. This is copyright Chasing Ghosts on Scooters in Bars.